butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
A butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Morning, everybody. Outcast, thank you so much for being first. Welcome, how you doing? Hey, I'm just about what's going on? The fuck we doing here? We're doing the book club. You know this, right? Every month we do the monthly book club. Then we're playing Silent Hill. But we are discussing Brandon Sanderson's Elantris. Did you read it? Reading Rainbow. Welcome in. Thanks for coming. I'm so sorry I'm a few minutes late. I actually have a good excuse today. I know I'm like always a few minutes late, but like I was actually early today. And then my streaming software crashed and I lost everything. Thankfully I could recover it quickly, but I did have a little mini heart attack when I thought I lost like every scene and everything I've ever built. It was a worrying moment, but we're here. So that's why we're a little delayed today. So I'm really sorry about that. But now I'm ready to discuss what I thought was an incredible book. How'd y'all feel? Who liked Elantris? For those who didn't read it but are just hanging out anyway, let's do a quick overview of what you missed out on. And you did miss out. It's an incredible book. I wasn't able to finish the book. I sincerely apologize. You don't need to apologize. I don't want this to be an obligation. This is not homework or anything. I really enjoy doing it. And if you ever want to read along, love having you. If you want, just like check in here and there, just like when we're reading something that you want to read as well. Yeah, feel free to participate as much and as often as you like. Fishy, what's going on? Thanks so much for coming. Welcome. And feel free, we're going to I'm going to clear off the wheel today. We're going to clear all these off for now, for October. We're just going to put spooky books and stories on the wheel and spin it. But all these, we can put them back on starting in November. Because I still want to read all these. Although, Elantris, bye-bye. But yeah. I enjoyed what I read, though. Yeah, if you don't mind getting spoiled, I'm going to really buckle down for the next book. Awesome. Yeah. Again, thank you so much for participating as much as you did. As long as you don't mind getting spoiled, we're going to talk about the whole book, the whole story. But for those who don't know, I'm just going to cover it real quick, like the outline of it, and then like the synopsis. and then we can get into discussing some things. But feel free to go ahead and start letting me know, like, first thoughts. Like, what did you think about the book? How'd you like it? Elantris is a fantasy novel written by American fantasy and science fiction writer Brandon Sanderson. The book was published on April 21st, 2005 by Tor Books and was Sanderson's first published book. This is a fucking banger for a first book, let me tell you what. The book gained generally positive reviews and has been translated into multiple languages. 2 related works, Hope of Elantris and The Emperor's Soul, have been released, and 2 additional novels in the series have been announced. I will be checking all those things out. The story follows 3 main characters. Prince Raudin of Arelon. Prince, I think it's Serene or Serene. There's different pronunciations. What were y'all saying? Serene? Serene? Serene maybe. I think I'm gonna go with that one. Prince Serene of Teod and the Prince Hrathen of Fjorden. At the beginning of the story, Raudin is cursed by an ancient transformation known as the Shroud, and secretly exiled to the city of Elantris just days before his betrothed, Princess Serene of Teod, arrives for their wedding. As Raudin tries to avoid gangs, keep his sanity, and unite the people of Elantris, Serene must cope with... I think it's going to change every time, the pronunciation. Must cope with the loss of her husband-to-be, and try to save Arelon from Hrathen, a priest tasked with converting all of Arelon to the religion of Fjorden, or dooming it to destruction. Serene. You went Serene? Serene. Okay, let's go Serene. Serene. I thought the prologue, the initial few pages were really good. Maybe just start off reading those as y'all collect your thoughts. Also, Serena means often, huh? Oh, we gotta check out some maps here, right? Love a good fantasy map. Love a good fantasy world map. Hey, Mocha Pandas, what's going on? Welcome in. We do a monthly book club on my channel. Last Sunday, my time, Japan time, Sunday morning of every month, we discuss what we read. Have you read Elantris by Brandon Sanderson? Feel free to participate. If not, we're going to choose our book for October, so feel free to suggest a book for the wheel. We put all the book choices on a wheel, we spin it, and we randomly choose what we're going to read next. Can I talk today? Still working on that. I'm cool. Part of my not getting through it is just not being a big fantasy person. I also struggle with motivation. It was also a very long book. It was a big ask it was like 650 pages. So it is kind of pushing it for a monthly book club. You know, I know it's hard to find the time to read. My idea of the Shroud is really cool. I like the world, or the idea of the Shroud. I like the world too. My map is a bit different. Interesting. Oh, really? Did you have either of these? Yeah, I just wanted to read the prologue. I thought it was really good. Great introduction to the world. Elantris was beautiful once. It was called the City of the Gods, a place of power, radiance, and magic. Visitors say that the very stones glowed with an inner light, and that the city contained wondrous arcane marvels. At night, Elantris shone like a silvery fire, visible even from a great distance. Yet as magnificent as Elantris was, its inhabitants were more so. Their hair a brilliant white, their skin an almost metallic silver. The Elantrians shone like the city itself. Legends claim that they were immortal, or at least nearly so. Their bodies healed quickly, and they were blessed with great strength, insight, and speed. They could perform magics with a bare wave of the hand. Men visited Elantris from all across Opalon to receive Elantrian healings, food, or wisdom. They were divinities, and anyone could become one. The Shroud, it was called. The transformation. It struck randomly, usually at night, during the mysterious hours when life slowed to rest. The Shroud could take beggar, craftsman, nobleman, or warrior. When it came, the fortunate person's life ended and began anew. He would discard his old mundane existence and move to Elantris. Elantris, where he could live in bliss, rule in wisdom, and be worshipped for eternity. Eternity ended 10 years ago. I'm thinking of joining. I did not read this book, but I'm currently reading a Brandon Sanderson book that was recommended by Fishy. Oh, really? Which one? I got other stuff I got to read, and we're going to have next month's book club, but At the next available opportunity, like, I want to read another Brandon Sanderson book. I've had Mistborn recommended to me before, so I think I want to jump into that universe. Yeah, if you want to grab a picture real fast, feel free. Would love to see it. I think it's called The Way of Kings. Yeah, okay, the first book in the Stormlight Archives. I've heard a lot about that one, too. Yeah, maybe I'll check that one out. I was thinking, I don't really know, like, is that... Maybe Mistborn is just, like, the larger universe. I don't really know what's connected in, like, the Sanderson verse. But I think Elantris is kind of its own thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've been hearing from fans. Like, it's kind of separate, although there might be some connective tissue there, but maybe just, like, thematically. It's really good so far, but super dense. It is? Okay. This is my first Sanderson book, so I'm not sure. Same for me. And this was his first book, which, again, that just astounds me. This is such a good first novel. It's a good, any novel. You sent in a book club? Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool. I really like that map, actually. I like the ones that were in this book, but that one helps clarify the placement of, like, the geography. That's the map you got in the hard copy. Yeah. The acknowledgements were really sweet. Oh, really? I mean, I did read those, but I can't really recall. Oh, no, I did like this. Kind of like talking about, it was Dan Wells. But it was like, knew Brandon Sanderson for a long time. And got to see him from like a younger age writing, just like writing constantly. So just to like kick off the discussion, did anyone have a favorite character in the book? A favorite narrative thread to follow? Also, Plaid Jammy Pants, like, I think you were in here when I said this, but if you got a book you want to read for October, and you want to join for next time, would love to have your choice. We can put it on the wheel. For October, I just requested that everyone pick a scary book, something spooky adjacent, so we can read that, you know, leading up to Halloween, and then starting from November, we can go back to just any choices that you have, regardless of genre or content. Early on, I was like excerpting some stuff and like highlighting, but like as I went on, like it was such a page turner, you know. Even though the writing style was good and like conveyed the story well, like I didn't think about it often. I just found myself just being in the thrall of the story. I feel like in previous book clubs I've spent a lot more time, like we've really dug into the prose. But yeah, it was such a good read. Rothan seemed the most promising to me. From early on, I thought he was one of the most interesting characters because he is set up as the antagonist at first. And I might have something about Rothan. Let me see if I can get a passage with him. Page 34, I seem to have highlighted something. Oh, I guess like I highlighted this more for the... Maybe we'll come back to this one. Looks like I have a better one here. And Rothan would be the one responsible for it. The conversion of Arlan and Teod was his urgent duty. He had 3 months to change the religious temperament of an entire culture. It was a monumental task, but it was vital that he succeed. If he did not, Fjordan's armies would destroy every living being in Arlan, and Teod would soon follow. The two nations, though separated by water, were the same in race, religion, and obstinance. The people might not yet know it, but Rothan was the only thing standing between them and utter annihilation. They had resisted Jadeth and his people in arrogant defiance for far too long. Rothan was their last chance. Someday they would call him their savior. And in fact, Now, having finished the book, yes, actually, he was correct, because spoilers abound. From this point on, he dies saving the kingdom and the king and queen. Excuse me. Hey, Nemesis, what's going on? Welcome. Thanks for coming in. I do a monthly book club on the channel. So right now we're discussing the book we read for September, and then we're going to jump into Silent Hill F. You liked Rothan? I did too. Fascinating character to follow. Because, yeah, for a while you think he's like the main antagonist. It sets him up that way. Like, okay, we have our principal characters who represent and are fighting for the livelihood of their own kingdoms, and then we have this foreign agent who comes in and is attempting to convert them all to a foreign religion in order to destabilize the culture, right? And once they are converted to the church has more authority than the monarchy. And at that point, like, the king would just be sort of like a puppet monarch, and like just like beholden to the whims of the church, like would just be under its yoke. And so that is a serious obstacle. But as the narrative unfolds, you see that, like, yes, he is still an antagonistic presence. Like, he still has his own aims, but he is, like, truly devout and serving his gods. And when you have the actual enemy, the actual antagonist in Dilaf, that, like, at first he's just sort of this, like, fervent, kind of, like, unrestrained, wildly devout, like, frighteningly fundamentalist priest in the church, but he is still like an underling of Hrathen, so he can be sort of controlled, but as he gains power, I think we can bring this back in. There we go. You realize, like, he's the actual, like, frighteningly, like, unstoppable force that's not going to be just content with converting the kingdom, but ultimately he tries to just massacre everyone. And that goes against, like, Hrathen's idea of the religion. Like, he serves the gods, he doesn't serve the church. And eventually he has to make his choice. Like, I will fight for my ideals and my idea of what the gods want, not what Wyrn wants, not what this political entity wants. And so he betrays everything that he's fought for. And dies. And is, in fact, the savior. Like, they bury him alongside the other fallen nobles and those who fought for Irulan and Elantris and Teod and that way of life. He gets buried alongside them. And it's a great final scene. It was very fun to just watch, like, such great characters. Like, you know, I was really invested in the relationship between Serene and Rauden as well, you know, because, like, they're such great characters on their own, and it builds it up so well. You just, like, keep wanting them to, like, well, you keep wanting Rauden to just finally reveal his identity to her, because, you know, he's been taken by the Shroud. He's been, like, physically transformed. So she doesn't recognize him, and he's cast into Elantris. But they're allowed to just, have their own adventures and develop on their own. And you see the strength of their characters individually. And then when you finally do, and it is quite near the end, when finally he reveals himself, she kind of figures it out. But also he just, like, reveals a bit of who he is and is about to actually confess to her. So I thought that was great. She was a cool character. She was very fun to follow. Like, she's just, like, abnormally tall and kind of, I don't know. She doesn't carry herself or have the kind of personality typical of women of the society, right? She fences. She's very brusque and like... oh, thank you. Yeah, I just got it. I always end up getting a haircut right before book club. I don't know why that is. I think because like I do try and put it off. I'm trying to get like my haircut like every couple months. And then we have the monthly book club, so it just kind of lines up. But yeah. Finally did it. But thank you. But yeah, I think it was really fun to follow her. This character. And, like her, like she's been married to Rowden. He's presumed dead. But she's still beholden to the vows. So she like comes to live in his kingdom all on her own. And like the first leg of the book is like her just pretending to be in just an absolute ditz. It's funny, like she just sets up a canvas, like an easel in the middle of Yadun's court, and it's just like painting away, you know, and just like pretending like she's just empty-headed and like, oh, are you doing business here? Are you doing king stuff? I just want to paint my painting. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just a dumb girl. And like she convinces the king that she's not actually like an intelligent and I don't want to say manipulative. Well, it is manipulative, but like she's working on various plans while they're just like totally dismissing her. And I thought that was a lot of fun to follow. I'm just looking at some things I have excerpted. No one knew what caused the riot. There were those who theorized, most of them Derethi priests, that the fall of Elantris had been caused by God. Living as gods themselves, the pre-riot Elantrians had allowed other religions in Arlon, but suffered them the same way a master lets his dog lick fallen food off the floor. I really like that image. They suffered the other religions the way a master lets his dog lick fallen food off the floor. The beauty of Elantris, the powers its inhabitants wielded, had kept the general population from converting to Shu Kaseg. Why seek an unseen deity when you had gods living before you? I also like how much it focused on the... you remember that scene? It was really funny. She continues that for a while until she finally... And it's another great scene. She finally, like, storms in on Yadun and, like, confronts him and sets him straight. And he's just, like... He immediately just crumples before her. She's like screaming at him like the whole castle can basically hear her. It's like, yeah, he is a very weak character. Like, he just has wealth. He just has wealth and like the power that brought, but he has not risen to anything on his own merits. And he really isn't, he isn't fit to be king, and he can't really confront anyone. He can only confront people through the office and through the wealth that surrounds him, but never like on his own merits. And so like when confronted in that way by Serene, just, yeah, he immediately folds, which is very fun. But yeah, I really liked really focusing on the politics between the kingdoms and their various religious practices, and how much like the relationship between the state and the church, and like how much that characterized these various societies and cultures, and all of the conniving and manipulating and like back dealing and attempts to like get your religious influence to spread into other foreign kingdoms in order to maybe destabilize them. It was fun to just be like, he did a lot of world building and he communicated it well, and never like really in just full on like drops of exposition. Like you do have that, but it's kind of like drip fed throughout the book with like these momentary interactions between priests in the priesthood, or like, I don't know, these secret meetings of nobles that are like trying to plan how they're going to exert their influence on the throne. And you just learn more about the world within the scene a lot of the time, and within these character interactions, which was great. I think I had something on page 67. Let's see what we got. It was too late now. Yodon had formally rejected Jadith. He must be made an example. However, Hrothan would need to be careful. Memories of the Duladin revolution were still stark in Hrothan's mind. The dead, blood, and chaos. Such a cataclysm had to be avoided. Hrothan was a stern man, and a determined one, but he was no lover of carnage. Yeah, I guess, like, I was highlighting things about Hrothan as we went, because I really liked his character. Like, there are other characters that I enjoy more and I'm rooting for more, but, like, he's the most interesting character in the novel, for sure. Watching his journey, and, I feel like this might need to be tamped down a little bit. How he, in terms of religious devotion, he kind of remains flat. Like, he doesn't change his mind on his religious practice or how he feels about the gods, but how that influences his behavior in the real world and the political entities surrounding that religious practice does change quite a bit. One of the book's strengths is not being too front-heavy with its own lingo. It's slow and gradual, allowing the reader to piece the magic together themselves. Yeah, his approach to religion is interesting for sure. It really is. I liked a logical approach. Yeah, going in, like I said, I was in the Thralda story. Like, I don't know how he's going to make all these things work. And it's the kind of story like, you know what? What caused these cataclysmic events? If it just ends up being like, I don't know, it was like some magical event or something like that, then I kind of would maybe just accept it. Like, the story was so well written that, like, I kind of just expected some maybe, like, contrived, like, it's magic, that's just how it works kind of stuff. But no, like, in the end, everything ended up being explained logically and satisfyingly, in my opinion. Which is, like, impossible for religion a lot of the time. Yeah. Yeah, I liked how, like, every system was treated with respect and explored. I really like how the door works. And so, like, the whole book is the question of, why did Elantris collapse? What caused this cataclysmic event to cause the Elantrians to lose their abilities and to become these just, like, weak, like, ugly, decaying creatures that are just, like, suspended in time, that if they are injured, like, this is the thing that, like, I thought this was such an interesting concept. Like, when you become an Elantrian, like, every painful thing that you experience, you remain, because you are frozen in time. We find out eventually that, like, everyone is in the process of transforming into an Elantrian like they used to, but because of the cataclysm, because of the earthquake, like, the runes, the aeons, need to be now modified in the way they're written to account for the change in geography, because, like, all of the runic symbols directly relate back to the geography of the world. And actually in the afterword, or, like, some notes after the novel, like, it kind of speculates. You have, like, some stuff written on that. Actually, we could maybe just jump to that. And it's, like, this question of, does it predate humanity? I think it was the Ars Arcanum. Runic this. Mr. Red Eye, you're still awake? What the hell? Welcome in. Did you read Elantris? Mr. Red Eye just finished, like, was it like 14 and a half hours? It was over 14 hours. Streamed all night. Had a subathon. Looked like it went really well. I could not be there for most of it, but I was in and out. I did get a full night's sleep in the midst of that one stream. Let's go to some of this. The power system is really cool. Yeah, maybe just read this. I thought this was really interesting. But yeah, anyway, just, like, before I forget that point, like, to your point, like, everything was logical, and I just liked how, like, at the end, I was so satisfied with, like, the cause of everything. There was no just, like, magical contrivance. Like, everything was rooted in a previous event. Just a really well-written story. Ambrose, welcome in. Good to see you. Ambrose is my co-host on the podcast, Source Not Found. Listeners of that will know this guy. What about tribalism in the manner of runes and awakening? You want to expand on that? You just finished breakfast? I have a school festival. You have a school festival to go? To get the fuck out of here. Oh, my God. Dude, True legend, Mr. Red Eye. Streamed all night, over 14 hours, and is going to a school festival. Well, I hope it is beautiful weather. I got my windows open here. I'm really enjoying this cool Sunday morning. So I hope you can enjoy that. And then I hope you get a lot of sleep on the other side of it. What is the breakfast of champions that they eat after an all-night stream? In discussing Aondor, the natural question to ask is one of origination. The Aeons themselves, seen below, are the foundation of both language and magic in Arelon and its surrounding regions. Curiously, they are quite distinct from the language of Aeonic, such that the otherwise phonetic writing system highlights them, being written smaller and more cramped than the majestic logographic characters. If I can wax prosaic, it is almost as if the common letters are subjects submitting before their gods. I loved this idea. I also loved, like, the connection I was making was, like, if you study Chinese and Japanese and kanji characters, and then you look at the history of the, like, ideogram, and you can see, like, even in modern kanji, some of the radicals, some of the elements, like, they link back to thousands of years ago, you know, and these, like, kind of basic scrawlings that, like, oh, like the character for people, Ren or Jin, depending on Chinese or Japanese, it kind of just looks like a little dude walking. And you can see stuff like that, like Chi is like mouth, and it's just like a big square, like an open mouth. And a lot of these, when you look at the historic or like the early civilization forms of these ideograms, they do more resemble just like a pictograph, but it's kind of changed over time. Anyway, I thought that was, I like that. It kind of reminded me of that, like something that almost seems like more connected to the gods, to a religious practice, or to like this, I don't know, like collective unconscious kind of thing, like something more innate in the human experience, and now it becomes modified, and like we pack on grammar, and it becomes more of like a writing system that's kind of distanced from the original, like, originating thought and ideas, but it's still there, it's still extant. I'm going to immediately find a capsule hotel the second I leave the school, crawl into a dark hole, and slumber like a beast beneath the earth. I've never stayed at one of those. That's something I need to do, I think, but I don't particularly want to be honest, but I am curious about that experience. Have you done this before? That's wild. Aren't you just like a 20-minute commute from your school, but you're going to go for a capsule hotel? Curiously, the Aeons produce sounds otherwise unused in the general languages of the area. If one were to strip the Aeons from the language, which is possible, as all concepts and ideas conveyed by the Aeons can also be written in the more rational, common script, one is left with a language family that is far more similar to Duladin than one might otherwise think. When one adds to this fact that the Aeons incorporate things like the landscape of Arelon into their depictions, an important question begins to emerge. Could the Aeons predate the arrival of the Aeonic people to the area? Those immigrants must have been taught about the Aeons, learned their meanings, and incorporated them into an already extant language. But who then created them? And did they create them to describe the landscape, or did the landscape somehow dictate the shape and sounds of the Aeons? I have no answer, but perhaps you can see what it is about this form of investiture that so drives my curiosity. Beneath, find a list of concepts unique to Aondor. I intend someday to understand how these are all related, and why they are so distinctive to this realm and its magics. I've been in a few capsule hotels and have slept in karaoke booths. Tokyo is a wild place. Yeah, I've seen them. I've never actually stayed at one. I've never, yeah. Never done that. I'm curious about those manga kind of hotels too that they have, where it's just like a massive like manga library, and you can stay there as long as you want, as long as you paid for, and just like get a little bed, sleep. So as a Sanderson boy, I'm curious how you feel about the magic of this world and how certain folk acquire or are born to it. We were just talking about how satisfying it was that like everything was so logically explored. Like, given the setup, I thought we might have some kind of contrived magical happenings, but everything everything felt tangible. Like everything felt like it was derived from like a functioning logical system. So even the way Elantris functioned, and like the door is channeled through the aeons and like into the city itself. The one thing that was kind of, it didn't really give me pause, and maybe others have like thoughts on this that can explain this, but I thought like an enlightened society like Elantris, where everyone is so knowledgeable about the door, and like they're able to write these aeons and like heal and light their society and like have like the whole society running on these magics, right? And we have the cataclysm, we have the earthquake, which changes the geography of the surroundings, and so it throws all of the aeons off. You now have to, like, in the way that you write them, you have to account for the change in geography because it is so linked in the land. And Rowden eventually discovers this near the end of the novel, and that's how he's able to reignite the flow of magic and have everyone complete their Elantrian transformation. I was like, nobody else figured this out. This whole society of enlightened Elantrians, like, nobody had this idea. I realized that, like, I guess, like, I get it. It's a very sudden loss of your divinity. It throws the whole society into chaos, and then, like, everyone is just immediately, they don't know to expect, like, what's going to come their way. So, like, many of them are killed. A lot of the other ones become like the Hood, and they just like descend into despair and like lose their cognitive functioning. But it really wasn't like I didn't really have to suspend disbelief. Like I think it was sufficiently explained there in that, but it was like an idea I briefly had that was kind of funny. Like, man, just not even like one Elantrian figured this out and like just fixed just wrote the line real quick. Got it going again. There are many places that are also unspokenly also a hotel. That's true. There are also love hotels, which are sometimes they're meant for banging, but they can be your cheapest option, depending on where you are and how long you're trying to stay. I like the Aeons. I thought these were really cool. Anyone have a favorite Aeon? Kind of like this one. I don't know if we should go for like Are, maybe? Ari? So it was like Serene or Serene, depending. So Are? Maybe. But yeah, Ambrose, sorry, to your point, ultimately, like, it even talks about it here in these like afterward kind of notes. It still just seems like random selection as well for like who is like those who become Elantrians and like certain like those who are able to connect to the door and like harness it, which I'm actually happy to accept, right? Like it's the luck of the draw. Like you could even, I wouldn't want it to like over scienceify like the mistake that Star Wars made in the prequels with like midichlorians and stuff like that. Like, I don't think I need him to dig into, like, oh, genetically this person has this attribute that allows them to function in this way and access magics in this way. Considering everything else has, like, been kind of, like, logically explained, I wouldn't be averse to that. But when it comes to magic, like, a certain level of just magical thinking, you know? A certain level of unknown, I think, is appropriate. And maybe even preferable. I liked Ash. Granted, that's the only one I really met. Oh, the Seance? Those were cool. A couple of these things, like, for me, almost get kind of goofy a little bit. Like, you're basically able to video chat across the world because you can access the Seance. But I just accepted it. And it helped. Like, it never... The danger with that system is like you could easily like contrive a lot of easy solutions to problems that the plot presents, and I didn't think it did that. And in fact, a lot of times it got our characters into trouble. or when it solved something, it actually created as many problems as it solved. Like with just they're able to immediately threaten the king of Teod and get him to convert and set up this like new, sudden, pressing issue. Yeah, I think it actually created more problems than it solved. So you wanted to mention that? Magical FaceTime cracked me up. It's goofy. It is goofy. Yeah. It's one of those things like when you read it on the page and you can sort of vaguely have an image of like what it looks like in practice, but nothing to really reinforce that. It's more acceptable than like to see this, like if this were filmed and made into a movie, like to see that on the screen I think would be very silly. But that was pretty sick too. I like this one. I really like them all. And I just, I didn't read these carefully because like I just finished the book this morning actually. I was like at the buzzer. I still had stuff to read. So yeah, Serene, wit and cleverness. Man, it's a cool little character. Yeah, now I'm just looking through all these, like all of these that are like a unit of like major characters' names, like Keen, I guess you would say. Serene's uncle, who we find out like was also Draok Crush Throat or Crushed Throat, which would be what he prefers. They dropped the ED, and we got that as part of his Draok Rail punishment retribution. Which that's a fun like reversal of his name, because like he does try and take the throne from his brother, because he's the older brother, like it should be his, but he was also just like fucking around. So his little brother ascended, and he tries to take it back by force. So you actually have a character who overcomes their circumstances, like he overcomes the desire for retribution, And I guess that is a recurring motif, a recurring theme with many of the characters. Like you have that truly centered in Hrathen, who overcomes his orders because he is serving something deeper, a deeper faith in the gods and what his gods would actually desire. Like his gods would desire for the peoples of the world to convert willingly, out of devotion, not have it forced upon them, or in Dilaf's attempt to just massacre them, just like have the other religious practices just violently wiped off the face of the earth. Yeah, and we have Shao for the Shroud, for the transformation. I really like this Aeon for transformation, And it ultimately we get that kind of society. So like, because we have this transformation a little bit here, but we have like a symmetry between the two poles of this Aeon, and eventually that is where society ends up. Like with under Rauden's leadership, like the Elantrians are still seemingly kind of like divine beings and have all these magical powers, but we better like level society, in multiple ways, not just like everyone is under like subservient to the Elantrians, but also like even the way that like the nobility functions, like they do retain it in the end, but it becomes much more like in service of the people for now. Like as the book ends, like I can see a lot of pieces in place. Like, oh man, under the right or the wrong leadership, like this society is gonna just kind of gravitate back towards hierarchical systems and autocracy. It is still a monarchy at the end of the day, so there's always that danger. But like leaving the nobility intact, I think was a mistake. I'm not saying they needed to bring the guillotine out or anything, but I think they should have gotten rid of that. just seeing if I had anything else. Looks like I wanted to talk about page 74. Let's hop over to 74. Also, if anyone has any specific things they highlighted or things they want to talk about in the book, I can pull that up on screen. I would happily do so. Let me read through this and see what I had to say about it. Yes, Syracuse, the souls of the dead men who hated Jadeth, the opponents to all that was holy. According to Shu Dereth, there was nothing more bitter than a soul who had had its chance and thrown it away. Yeah, that kind of encapsulates, like, Hrothan's initial, like, rejection of Dilaf and like, what the church has decided to do. It's like, you can't massacre these people. We're trying to convert them. They never even had a chance. Like, they haven't heard my teachings. We haven't given them ample time to convert willingly. Like, he really believes that to the very end. Wish I had more to discuss, but I didn't get very far. Oh, no worries. I appreciate you joining the discussion at all. And just sharing some thoughts, yeah. You think the Elantrians are Syracuse? Dilaf asked. It is accepted doctrine that the Syracuse can control the bodies of the evil, Hrothan said, unbuckling his greaves. Is it so hard to believe that all this time they have been controlling bodies of the Elantrians, making them appear as gods, to fool the simple-minded and unspiritual? I think I just highlighted this, like I kind of made this point earlier. I like how much world building is done within the scene. It's not usually like the authorial voice, the narrative voice coming in. Like, it does come in here and there to explain things, but it is usually just like interactions between knowledgeable characters in positions of power or influence or trying to achieve that position and discussing, and you get the sense of the world through dialogue and through these events, like action in the scene. It's really good. Because that is the danger with a fantasy novel that is so well thought out. Like, there's so much world building he's done on the front end. There's so much to explain in terms of like the geography, the political climate, the religious practices, how those positions in the church interact with those in the state, the influence of the nobility, how the characters function within all that, and the magical systems that underpin it all. But I never thought that the book lagged at all. Like, it was a page turner. There were some sections that were more exciting than others, for sure. But, like, the entire ride. That's why, like, even though I don't really have many other notes that I excerpted, like I was saying, like, because I was just reading. I was just in the thrall of the tale. Yeah, this is the scene that we really liked that we were talking about earlier. Her just pretending to be dumb, painting in the middle of the court. I think this scene is so funny. I guess let's just read this. Serena decided not to accept her uncle's offer to stay with him. As tempting as it was to move in with his family, she was afraid of losing her foothold in the palace. The court was a lifeline of information, and the Aeroline nobility were a fountain of gossip and intrigue. If she was going to do battle with Hrothan, she would need to stay up to date. So it was that the day after her meeting with Keen, Serena procured herself an easel and paints, and set them up directly in the middle of Iadon's throne room. "What in the name of Domi are you doing, girl?" the king exclaimed as he entered the room that morning, a group of apprehensive attendants at his side. Serena looked up from her canvas with feigned surprise. "I'm painting, father," she said, helpfully holding up her brush. An action that sprayed droplets of red paint across the Chancellor of Justice's face. Iadon sighed. "I can see that you're painting. I meant, why are you doing it here?" "Oh," Serena said innocently. "I'm painting your paintings, father. I do like them so." "You're painting my..." Iadon asked, his expression dumbfounded. "But..." Serena turned her canvas with a proud smile, showing the king a painting that only remotely resembled a picture of some flowers. I think this is just a legitimately hilarious scene. Like, it's so funny. I just love the way she holds up the brush. Like, I'm painting. See? Look at my brush. Just waving it around, just splattering paint all over these ministers' faces. Really good. Really good. Oh, I think 105 was a moment, like, between Hrathen and Serene, let's say. Like, it was fascinating. The way that he was, like, trying to convert and, like, giving all these sermons, and then she would just infiltrate the crowd, and, like, they would have a public back and forth little debate there. And, like, having them at odds with one another was very fun to watch unfold. Surprisingly, the Yorn turned away from the scattering people and nodded appreciatively at Serene. It wasn't a bow, but it was the most respectful gesture she had ever received from a Derethi priest. It was an acknowledgement of a battle well won, a concession given to a worthy opponent. "You play a dangerous game, princess," he said softly in his slightly accented voice. "You'll find I'm very good at games, Gjorn," she replied. That's just such a good exchange. That's such a good exchange. And he's still, like, kind of the antagonist at this point, although you are, like, looking at Dilaf like, you're dangerous. But you still, Hrathen still seems to be, like, he's the one in the position of power. He still seems to be the brains of the operation. But, again, like, at no point do you worry about him and his machinations, and, like, you don't want him to succeed. But at no point does the novel, like, give you a reason to hate him. Like, he's fascinating the entire, like, from the very first scenes on, like, he's always respectful, and, like, he has a personal set of ethics and morals and beliefs about those around him, and he respects, again, like a worthy competitor here. Like, he's just had his sermon ruined by her just, like, hollering from the back, like, you know, like Epicurean arguments and shit against his gods, and, like, throws the whole thing off. But while he is frustrated by that, he recognizes a worthy opponent, and he lost the debate, and he can, like, acknowledge that and respect that, which is awesome. And I think to that point, like, the contrast between Hrathen and Dilaf is very fun to watch unfold throughout the book. Dilaf's response was softly spoken, but every word sounded powerfully in Hrathen's ears. "Perhaps," the Erling priest whispered, "but there is another way. Lord Jadath will rise when every living soul is united. The Teos will be no obstacle if we destroy them. When the final Teo heaves his last sigh, when the Elantrians have been burned from the face of Sikla, then all men will follow Wern. Then Jadath will come." The words were disturbing. Hrathen had come to save Irulan, not burn it. It might be necessary to undermine the monarchy, and perhaps he would have to spill some noble blood, but the end result would be the redemption of an entire nation. To Hrathen, uniting all mankind meant converting them to Shu-Dereth, not murdering those who didn't believe. And I just love, like, these little things, they always come back. The little one-off phrase or, like, sentence, line, even just, like, Hrathen sort of predicting, accidentally, that he would be the kingdom's savior, not in the way that he assumes or plans, but ultimately he does. And just, like, how this comes back with, like, when you realize, that moment when you realize that, like, oh, all those tents out there, when, like, the monks emerge, these really frightening monstrosities who have been, like, physically changed to have, like, these kind of, like, internal, almost like an exoskeleton kind of, like, bone, the way that the bones of their body morph and, like, protect them, so that, like, even a head-on, like, sword attack will just sort of, like, glance off. They're really scary, and, like, that's the invasion force, and you see that, like, yeah, this is what he wanted to do all along, and it's actually, you find out what he was planning to do all along. Like, the pieces were being put in place. As Hrathen was, like, embarking on this failed odyssey to just, like, convert them the old-fashioned way, like, he was never meant to succeed. He was just there to be a distraction. Everything's just, yeah, so satisfying. I loved the book. I really did. Anyone have any other final thoughts on it? I'm happy to discuss as long as y'all want to, but I think due to its length, I think we didn't have too many people read this time. And it is, like I said, it was a big ask. But if there's anything else you wanted to share or talk about, this is your moment. Otherwise, we're going to spin the wheel here in a minute. But again, thank you, Emissary Vex, for putting this on the wheel. I had such a good time reading it. This is really interesting to listen to while I'm drawing, by the way. Oh, thank you so much for listening. How's the drawing going? What are you working on today? I really tried. I'm sorry. Please don't apologize. I didn't mean anything by that. I was just like basically saying like that's like those are my thoughts. I shared everything I have, so if no one else did, since we don't have a whole lot of readers this time, we might just be moving on to video games. We usually anywhere between like an hour and 2 hours for these discussions, depending on how many people read and what they have thoughts on. But I think kind of said my thoughts on it. It was really like, it is a fascinating thing to explore these systems or whatever in the world, but like as a book, I was just like what I said earlier, like I didn't have a whole lot to note about the writing style and like stepping outside of the narrative to talk about Brandon Sanderson, like his own way of communicating the story, like because I was just so I was just page turning, that I didn't like step outside of the story often. I was really immersed. Drawing Hollow Knight stuff, nice. Still in a chokehold. I gotta come by and see that. I feel like I've seen one of your arts. Like, do you draw on stream? I might have only seen you playing games. Because I remember because it was Fight Magic Item Run. I think you were doing a collab stream. I remember following you and Solid Shift at the same time. And I've definitely stopped in for Solid Shift's art streams. I'm trying to remember if I caught one of yours sometimes, but pretty rarely. I'll read this next book, I swear. I want to participate fully. I'm glad that you want to participate. So speaking of, if there are no final thoughts, who wants to put something on the wheel for October? Let's get that pulled up here. Let's see what the reception was, though. Elantris gained generally positive reviews. Orson Scott Card, American novelist, critic, public speaker, essayist, and columnist, states on his website that Elantris is the finest novel of fantasy to be written in many years. Brandon Sanderson has created a truly original world of magic and intrigue, and with the rigor of the best science fiction writers, he has made it read at every level. You know what? That's a good connection. Like, it did feel not sci-fi, but like the seriousness to which he treats his magical systems, like, is reminiscent of hard sci-fi, or someone who like has their shit figured out and is trying to communicate a system to the reader. Like, nothing is left to magical thinking or just accept it. It's just the way that the magic functions in this world. Like, it is all elaborated upon. Kirkus Reviews praised the book because it was not the first book in a series. An epic fantasy novel that is startlingly not volume one of a never-ending sequence with an unusually well-conceived system of magic. The story has some grip, and it's a tremendous relief to have fruition in a single volume, a cut above the same old. I couldn't agree more. I didn't really think about that till now, but man, what an epic fantasy work, and it's just a one-off, a one and done. Like, apparently there are other books connected to it. It seemed like, I'm just looking down here, he has talked about maybe some sequels, but like, yeah, it just told a story beginning to end. Publishers Weekly praised Sanderson's fantasy debut as being outstanding and free of the usual genre cliches, noting that it offers something for everyone, including mystery, magic, romance, politics, religious conflict, and robust characters. Totally agree. I'm glad you really enjoyed it. It didn't grip me as much, but I enjoyed what I got through. I will say, like, I was in from the outset. It was about, I want to say 2/3 of the way through the book, where, like, even though I thought it was great until then, and it was a page turner, like, man, when, like, because it is setting up so many things. There are so many different narrative threads and, like, different characters, different protagonists that it's focusing on, and they're all sort of, like, disparate. They're scattered about. But once everything starts to converge and these characters start to meet up and work together or work against one another, right? You have these confrontations. And once everything, even just like the systems start being figured out by the principal characters and utilized, when it all comes together in the last third of the book, it is worth like I wouldn't even call it the slow build, but like it's worth in contrast, in comparison, these slower first like parts of the book, because it's so satisfying. Like it definitely is worth the wait, the way everything comes together. All right, we're gonna take off all of the books on the wheel. Anyone hanging out? This is your last call to get a book on the wheel. It doesn't matter if you've participated in the past or not, whether you read the book for this month or not. Anyone can put a book on the wheel, and we will read it together and discuss it at the end of October. No, thank you. No, thank you. Breaking Dawn. Do you really want to put that on the wheel? Because I will do it. You need to tell me that that's not a bit. How about the original Frankenstein? Let's do it. That would be a nice follow-up. We just read the original Dracula last month. That was Mr. Red Eye's pick. And I haven't read that since high school, I don't think, so it'd be fun to revisit it. Unless you got something else, but we can put Frankenstein on. Whatever you're feeling. Was this a the Final Ghoul wanted to put on The Transition. Sorry, I was just checking the Discord server. Whoops. And then Chica had something in the Discord server as well. The Summoning. Was that it? Rated Fishy, Plaid Jammy Pants, are you still hanging out? Do you want to get a book on the wheel? Alcaz, do you want to put a book on the wheel? Mocha Panda just put on Frankenstein. Is it okay if I put a Patterson novel on there? Is that horror adjacent enough? I've never read a Patterson. Well, somebody doesn't like James Patterson, do they? Hey, Cuss tested us. What's going on? Welcome in. We just finished our book club discussion for Elantris. We're just choosing a book for October, and then we're going to get some Silent Hill going. Thanks for coming in. How's your day going? Also, if you want to join the book club or you want to put a book on the wheel, feel free. Yeah, does he write? Like, I know he does, like, stuff like... Is Kiss the Girls one of his? Do I have that right? Which I saw the movie of a long time ago. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Fantasy has to be oddly specific for me to really enjoy it. I get that. Object of Power, do you actually want to read... You don't actually want to read Breaking Dawn, right? And also, like, if you put that book on my wheel and you don't read it and come to discuss it, I'm going to be pissed. So, no. Yeah. I assume that's a bit, but, like, with you, I just don't know sometimes. Like, maybe you would actually do it. Like, maybe that's the bit. Maybe the bit isn't just this bit, but, like, you want to actually spend the month reading Twilight and have me talk about it for an entire stream. I don't know how to read. I know it's kind of incredible, actually. I did forget that. And you still managed to come into chat. I know you can't read anything that's being written around you, but I appreciate you finding a way to write thoughts. I know you can write. I'm hoping one of these days you get reading down too. They are like adjacent skills. Kiss the Girls I'm reading right now. Do you want to put that on the wheel? Is it spooky? Is it good for October, I guess? Like, everyone use your best judgment. We're heading into Halloween. We're trying to really live it up, have a very spooky good time with a piece of fiction. Would that be appropriate? Voice to text. The most casual thing I'm reading is like Children in Death. I did check out that song you sent me. That was wild. The death song that you shared the other day. I checked it out after the stream. It was amazing. He generally writes about serial killers and crime. It's not purely horror. It's more thriller than anything. How spooky is it as a thriller? Depends how you feel about crime novels. I don't honestly read many. I like to have that experience. If you think it's like creepy enough, scary enough to read this month, if it is like more about the procedure of it, then maybe we could put it off until November. But I feel like serial killers are also like, that's a spooky thing to read for Halloween. Could be more of it. Oh, novels, I don't know about those. Yeah, we are. I guess I never really said this. I don't think I have a rule, but we've only read fiction thus far. Oh, I need to put mine on here. So I want to read Hell House by Richard Matheson, which I started reading last year. Whoops. But did not finish. So, and it was fucking awesome. It was so good what I read. Like, I can't believe. The only reason I stopped is because I got so busy with other things, and I have to read stuff for the podcast occasionally, and the book club here as well. So it's just like. Oh, guys, do you want to do Kiss the Girls? The book I was going to suggest is actually not Kiss the Girls. If you want to maybe pull it up, I would suggest First to Die. First to Die? Okay. A 2001 crime novel by American author James Patterson that is the first book in the Women's Murder Club series. It's on the shelf. Welcome. How you doing? We just finished discussing Elantris. We are picking a spooky book for October. Do you have anything you want to put on the wheel? Elantris was very good, by the way. One of my favorite things we've read thus far. The series is about 4 friends who pool their skills together to crack San Francisco's toughest murder cases. The women each have different jobs. Lindsay Boxer, a homicide inspector for the San Francisco Police Department. Claire Washburn, a medical examiner. Jill Bernhardt, an assistant DA. And Cindy Thomas, a reporter who just started working the crime desk of the San Francisco Chronicle. McCann, it's up to you. Let's do it. First to Die. Nothing to add, no? What was the book for today again? It was Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Don't you fart on that book. It was good. It was good. It was so good. Okay. Is this the wheel? Any other additions or final thoughts? I meant to snooze the ads. They're rolling. Let me wait just in case anyone got dropped into ad land, and then we'll do a final call, and then we'll spin the wheel. This is a good wheel. There's Like, not gonna lie, don't fart on my wheel. Don't fart on my wheel. That's not what I want to do for October. I don't want to just read farts. I don't want to read farts. That's for damn sure. I would like to see Hell House get chosen, but I'd be happy reading any of these. Yeah, so sorry, some of you all were in ad land. Again, final call for books for October, and then I'm gonna spin it. See, look at what's going on. Are you having a day of the textured variety? It's great. It's beautiful. It's so nice and cool. I got my windows open. We just discussed a great book. Do you want to put a book on the wheel for October? Anything you want to read? The only request I have is that it's spooky. Hope First to Die is good enough. It's been a minute since I've read it, but I remember really liking it. I would like to finally read a James Patterson. I never have. Just seen a movie or two that's based on his work. 15 stream streak. Thank you so much for being here. You rule. All right, final call. 9, 8. We're gonna spin the wheel. 7, 6. If anyone's got a book, now's the time. 5, 4, 3. I'm not a book club member, sadly. I can't really bring myself to read unless I'm really in the mood. Yeah, I remember you saying that. I just want to give everyone the opportunity. So, let's spin it. Yay! I finally got one of mine chosen. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Reading Hell House. Y'all in for a treat. Like, I haven't finished it, but man, what I read was fucking awesome and really scary. Really good. Cool. We will reconvene. Let me see. I guess the 26th. Let's do the 26th. Let's pull it up also real quick. Oops. Hell Hose? Hell Hose. That's also a very scary story about a haunted hose. They think it's the hose. The big twist at the end, I'm sorry to spoil it, is that it actually wasn't the hose. It's actually the tap. It's actually the spigot itself. Because they try to just like replace the hose, but that doesn't fix it. The 1971 horror novel by Richard Matheson, published in 1971. The story centers on 4 people: Dr. Lionel Barrett, a physicist with an interest in parapsychology, his wife Edith, and 2 mediums, Florence Tanner, a spiritualist, and Benjamin Franklin Fisher, who had visited the haunted house 30 years prior. Yeah, it's by Richard Matheson, who also wrote I Am Legend. You might know that one. You ever read I Am Legend? Another great book. Oh, you said hose, not... Hell hose. That's like one of those direct-to-video movies that you see is available for free under, like, if you search horror on, like, Tubi.com. Like, oh yeah, this exists. Oh, man. Very excited. All right, so we'll be reading that for October. Thank you, everyone who came to the book club discussion today. Appreciate y'all. Extra thanks to everyone who read the novel in full. No shame for those who didn't. But I do want to, I do really appreciate some of y'all. Radiated Fishy is the MVP. Has read every book, even the ones he hated. So far for the book club. So thank you for always being here and reading the book. You rule. You can hang out at my Discord server. We got a book club channel. I'll post all the information about this book in there. I'll put some dates in the channel for like reading goals, so we can like, if you want to like excerpt anything or discuss anything up to a certain point, and we'll do it by dates, just like no one gets spoiled. Like you can discuss the book up to this point, starting on this date, that kind of thing. You enjoyed the Will Smith movie? Theatrical ending sucks, but I know the alternate ending is closer to the novel ending. Yeah, you should read the book. It's not a very long read. I kind of hate the movie, but I will make it through every book now on. I must. Well, thanks so much for being here, regardless. There are some moments in the movie I liked, but June in the morning sun, like, hey, Nugget, what's going on? Welcome in. We just finished our book club stream. I do a book club discussion every month. We are reading Hell House by Richard Matheson. If you want to join a book club, or if you like reading that book and discussing, it'll be the Japan time, the 26th of October, like 9 a.m. I usually do it morning Japan time, last Sunday of the month. So we're going to read Hell House, which is very exciting. But for now, that was Elantris. Great book. Okay, let's play some video games. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to step away, take a quick break, come back with the PlayStation and our favorite new protagonist, Hinako, and we will get into something spooky. So, see y'all in just a minute.